Flight Sim Studios released the E-Jet 170 early this year with a controversial pre-alpha release, which met huge amount of criticism from the Flight Sim community. The team promised after release they would develop to a steady level aircraft with releases every 2 weeks. In this video, we are going to check out the E-Jet after a few short months of its development and after 10 updates and see where it's at. Before we jump into this video, I'd like to thank ProDesk Sims for sponsoring this video. A big thank you to ProDesk Sims for sponsoring this YouTube video. Their products enhance your current flight simulator hardware by turning your flight controls into something closer to the real thing. The team makes different add-ons for flight controls such as Honeycomb, SciTech, and Velocity over a variety of different aircraft, including Boeing, BAE, Cessna Citation, VisionJet, TBM, just to mention a few. The current add-on I'm using at the moment is the ProDesk Sims new dual action Boeing 737 add-on for the Honeycomb Bravo, which features a detent flap and speed brakes. This really improves the immersion and realism of my flights. For Oz Flight Sim viewers, you can use this code AUSFS on checkout for a 15% discount on all ProDesk Sim products. I'll leave a link in the description of where you can check out their page, and a big thank you to our friends over at ProDesk Sims for sponsoring this video. If you're not familiar with the history of the E-Jet by Flight Sim Studios, the team released this aircraft as a pre-release on January the 10th this year. The release was met with mixed feelings and criticism from the community due to the level of hype that was built up by a series of teaser videos. Once released, the community was expecting a more complete to near complete package. This left Flight Sim Studios to make some changes to the transparency and the development roadmap of the E-Jet and provide more details to the consumers of what they are receiving when they purchase the pre-alpha product. That being said, Flight Sim Studios appears to be keeping up with their promises so far, and the team have been releasing updates every 2 weeks with bug fixes and feature updates. Along with the update, simmers who have purchased the pre-release get to vote on which feature they would like to see implemented first and help to shape the E-Jet progress. Currently, Flight Sim Studios have 8 team members developing the project, and the project is expected to take 16 months plus in its development time. The first finished release will include the E-Jet 175 and then the 170, as the team plans to develop the E195 and the E90 once the E70 series is complete. The final release is expected to include a detailed 3D model which will include a large number of animations, detailed flight mechanics based on tables and manuals from the real aircraft, custom coded sound set, a detailed systems including great detail of the automation of the E-Jet, which it's actually known for, complex FMS that has the ability to fly SIDS and stars, a full custom autopilot to include LNAV and VNAV and also auto throttle, and other features such as checklist cockpit procedures, custom cameras, a McDo keyboard, just to mention a few. My first experience with the E-Jet on release, and I was keeping in mind this was a pre-alpha release, I found the aircraft was more or less, it was able to hand fly, but it was full of stutters and bugs. The development of the E-Jet had a long way to go, and the experience was a lot yet to be desired. After a few months, along with at least 10 updates, Flight Sim Studios have been hard at work with fixing hundreds of bugs and added features which were part of the roadmap, improving the aircraft performance and the flight mechanics. The major milestones that the team have achieved thus far is improved flight physics, FMS backend code, SimBrief flight plans to import into the EFB with weights uploaded into the McDo, improved performance overall, improved performance on the displays and migration to WASM, E-Jet 170 model to include in the package, improved landing gear, wings and adjustments to the cockpit, ILS auto tune, and in the last update, which is part of the base of the new custom autopilot system, the team has implemented the first version of a custom auto throttle. Recently, I took the E-Jet on a flight to see myself how the development is going. To my surprise, I found the experience was much better when I last flew the E-Jet. Yes, there is many more areas for improvement, but now the aircraft is able to fly from A airport to B airport. Don't get me wrong, there were still some moments where the E-Jet needed manual help to keep on the right track, but I actually enjoyed the flight overall. I enjoyed the FMS pre-flight, including the weight and the SimBrief integration. All the automated systems that the E-Jet is known for seem to be working to a higher level. Takeoff and ascend were all fine, and the E-Jet seemed to follow the correct speed and inputs. Mind you, this flight was conducted before the recent update with the included auto throttle. I did, however, have the autopilot disconnect at least 5 times during the flight. Don't really know why, so I would not recommend stepping away from the cockpit too long. The LNAV and the VS descent seemed to be working for most part of the flight until the E-Jet suddenly veered off course on approach, which resulted in me missing out the ILS, and I had to fly it all the way down to the touchline. That being said, hand flying it was much improved, and it was a joy to fly. Taking all the bugs out of this flight, I found this time around, comparing it to the first time I flew the E-Jet, it was actually enjoyable to fly at this point. And I now will consider the E-Jet as one of the aircraft I would have in my flying rotation. Don't get me wrong, it's definitely not up to the level of some of the AAA title aircraft such as the PMDG. That being said, we can really see the progress the team has been making in a short period of time. At the time of creating this video, Flight Sim Studios released their latest update, which is 0.9.10. This release includes many bug fixes, general overall improvements to the aircraft, but the main milestone featured in this update was the first version of its custom auto throttle. You now have the ability to use the new auto throttle over the current basic standard version. Activating this new auto throttle can be done through the EFB, and the team plans to switch this one over to be the standard one in the next update towards the end of May. With the implementation of this auto throttle, the team will now switch their focus over to the other autopilot modes. Flight Sim Studios E-Jet Early Access release took off on a very bumpy runway indeed. They appeared to take on the community's criticism and took steps to outline their roadmap for the project and clarify with transparency on what is expected when you purchase this early access release. The team has so far been keeping up with the development roadmap, and the E-Jet is definitely coming along. The future of this project is very promising indeed. I will leave a link in the description of where you can check out Flight Sim Studios E-Jet website, development roadmap, and also where you can purchase the early access for the project. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, and if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. That way we can let you know when our next E-Jet update or Flight Sim video goes live, and thank you very much for your support.